get started. My name is Darlene. I am with SeniorLivingGuide.com. I am the National Digital Sales Director, but I also am the podcast host for our SeniorLivingGuide.com podcasts, which I have actually done a podcast with Joe, so that might be something you're interested in as well. With SeniorLivingGuide.com, we have the National Reach the National Reach website. If that's something you haven't looked into, that's one of the things that we offer. It's a great resource for anyone that's interested in any kind of senior housing or home health care needs on a national basis, and is also a great resource for a lot of different things. So just definitely peruse it and check it out. And then also we have the hospital directories, which we have, I think, over 40 markets that we now cover. So it's a really great resource as well. And then we have publications, statewide publications within the state of North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and Florida. So if you think any of those as a marketer, as an advertiser, you would be interested in, please let me know. I'll definitely be happy to provide you with additional information on how you can be found on any of our resources that are utilized by seniors, caregivers, and really a lot of social workers, case managers utilize our resources as well. So there's a lot of different things that you can get found with some of our products. And with that, I'm going to let Joe introduce himself, and then we will get started.
Thank you, Darlene. Again, I'm Joe Solsona, and so I'm here in Florida, but we do deal with the whole United States, and we're with the National Association of Veterans and Families. And as the title basically indicates here, we specialize in the Veterans Aid and Attendance Benefit, the hidden secret. And so that's what we're going to be talking about, is how the VA benefit can be beneficial to, to the community residents or home care, independent living, and how it can benefit them, which in turn is great for the communities, because then the the residents don't have to move because they run out of money. So basically, if I can get this to move here. Okay, so I guess we're ready to kind of get into the meat of it. And applying for the VA benefits, 73% of claims are denied. And this number came from the VA. And that was kind of astounding the first time that I saw that number. You got to be kidding me. Because even years ago, when we started 15 years ago, we were told it was pretty easy. I did a lot of research, and they have their easy form on the VA website. Yeah, it's easy if you have no money and no house. If you have a house over $10,000, you got to fill out these additional 18 pages. So the reason that 73% of the claims are denied is because the children try to file directly to the VA. And typically, when you're dealing with the senior veterans, most of the time we're dealing with the children, 90% of the time. And they think that they're going to be able to file directly to the VA, and they find out very quickly it's much more complicated.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but Joe, one of the things that you and I have talked about is, and we talked about this, just you and I personally, is that is what happened with me. I had to file directly, not knowing there were any other options under the sun. I had to file for my dad, who had dementia, so he couldn't even help me on really any level. I had to really find everything on my own by digging through files and everything else, and file directly with the VA on his behalf. And as I've mentioned to you, you're probably tired of hearing it, it was like a nightmare for me. It was just like one of the worst things that I've had to go through as far as on a level 20 stress level.
Well, sometimes it's a good nightmare. We just had a case that basically where the children thought dad was destitute, and they found $684,000, and they knew nothing about it. And so, but that's usually the case, is that where the parents are, I guess, I hate to use the term stubborn, but they're very protective of what they have. And your children, your children, they still view you as 12 years old, okay?
Yeah.
And so that's typically what happens. And so But right off the bat, they'll file for the wrong benefit because on the application, they'll say, are you filing for compensation or pension? And the thought is, well, I want dad to get compensated. Well, that wrong benefit. That's for somebody that had an injury in the service. So that's service connected. So typically it's pension that we're dealing with. They file the wrong forms. The VA typically changes their forms. It seems like every month. And if you wait too long to file, you got an outdated form, they kick it back out. So it has to be where it's on a pretty speedy basis to get things done. They file incomplete paperwork. That's the other reason, and because it is confusing. And so the VA kicks it out. So basically, I know we spend at least 8 to 10 hours preparing a claim. That's on a simple one. And if it's more complicated, boy, it takes a much longer time. Okay. So what are the planning strategies? So for the seniors, when they're thinking about, their health care in their senior years, or if the children are having to deal with it, the first thing is they got to pay out of their income. So whether the income's from Social Security or whether it's from, retirement, that's usually used first. Then they'll have to pay for their savings and their investments and start shrinking that. Now, long-term care insurance also could be another way that they do pay for their senior care. And as we tell everyone, if you have long-term care insurance, you need to keep it. Don't get rid of it because you probably can't get it again, or you will not be able to afford it. Now, sometimes what we've been able to do is where somebody had long-term care insurance and they were paying a large amount, say $1,200 a month, was to reduce the premiums down to $600. It reduced the benefit, but they still had something. Last time we did that was the dad, the veteran, 6 months later went into a community, and at least they had the long-term care insurance where if they had got rid of it completely, they would have had nothing. So the VA pension plus aid and attendance is another way or strategy to pay for senior care. And so we're going to talk about that in a little more detail, but that's benefits from the VA. The other is ABD Medicaid. So ABD Medicaid is aged, blind, and disabled Medicaid. So all the states basically have that Medicaid. That Medicaid is primarily for nursing home. Now, certain states have a different version. It's called Medicaid, the waiver program. Florida has it here, Pennsylvania has it, and certainly the other states, and that will pay additional benefits for assisted living in addition to, the VA benefit. The community, though, has to basically agree to accept the Medicare waiver program, and that's state by state, a little bit different. And the last is children pay. And so usually we will ask, if we're doing a seminar, how many of you want your children to pay? And over the years, I've only had one lady, this was in Covington, Georgia, and she jumped up and said, I want my children to pay. They were terrible teenagers. So she kind of meant it, okay, that she wanted to pay, okay?
Yeah.
So those are the ways typically to pay for, the senior care. And so that's the important thing there. Now, the thing that we always get into is then how is Department of Veteran Affairs, divided? We get veterans that come in and they say, oh, the VA already has my records. I don't need my records. The VA has it. Well, what happens is they've been going to the hospital or the clinic, and yes, the VA there has the records, okay, and a copy of their discharge paper. So that's on the health side. The other division of the Department of Veteran Affairs is the benefits division. So the benefits division basically handles service-connected, non-service-connected disability, and that's where we come in and handle that. Okay. The third is the burial division. So the burial division does the best as far as helping the veterans of any of the three divisions there. But one thing that you'll notice is there's no arrows in between the health, the benefits, and the burial, and that they don't communicate with each other. So some of the paperwork, if you're applying for additional benefits and they're on the health side, you're going to have to provide that paperwork. And that's the way it works. Okay. So we specialize in the benefits division. Okay. And do we cross over to the health side? Sometimes we do. It depends on the situation. There are other programs throughout the United States. The Veterans Directed Care Program that's for the veteran only. that basically is on the health side that will provide additional benefits for assisted living and home care. Okay, so the benefits division, like I said, is for service connected. That's for the veteran only, and the pension, as it's called, is non-service connected. It's for the veteran and or the spouse. So that's basically very important, that there are benefits for the spouse in addition to the veteran. Okay, so what is pension plus aid and attendance? Well, A&A, as it's commonly called, is a Veterans Administration non-service connected reimbursement benefit that is funded by Congress for veterans and surviving spouses of a veteran that served their country during a wartime. So the money has already been funded by the legislature, okay? And it's money that can be used for home care, assisted living, nursing home, or independent living with a third-party caregiver. Now, this gentleman here in the picture was 102 years old when I took his picture, and basically, we got him the benefit in 2 weeks because of his age, okay? And
Wow,
he could
nice.
have qualified when he was 90, okay? And what happened was that his son didn't know about the benefit. So the last 12 years, the son was still working to keep dad in the community. Okay, so when he got the benefit from the VA, let me tell you, that son was so happy because he could quit working. So that is kind of those situations. We just finished another one, 104-year-old that was a World War II WAC. Now that we got approved in 1 week, okay, because we kind of let them know that we have the press in there taking pictures, and it'd be bad press for the VA if they didn't approve her. And they did. Now, she passed away 2 weeks after that, but still, she was so thrilled to be able to get the benefit. And we had a general to come in and give her some medals. She stood up to get those medals from a general. She was so thrilled a general would come see her. So that's kind of the little things sometimes for veterans that we want to do. Okay.
So I have a question for you. This is my question. So if a veteran is significantly aged, like at the 100-year mark, is it expedited as far as the process? I mean, is that something that can be done?
The answer is yes. Typically, it is on the application. There's that additional paperwork we send. It asks if they're over age 85. So if they're over age 85, it's going to be expedited. In her case, we were set to go to the local U.S. congressman. If they didn't do it in a week, we knew it could be done because we've had it before, and they did it. So we kind of know the time limits on everything. And right now it's taking a little bit longer just because of the COVID, okay, is that the VA hired new people. And so they have a learning curve. So it is taking about 8 weeks for a veteran. For a spouse to get approved, it's taking about 10 to 12 weeks. Now, there's some retro dates and retro money that is attributed from the time of the application or intent to file, and it's always effective the 1st of the month. So if we file the case today, it would be effective then August the 1st. So it wouldn't make any difference if it took 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks to get approved. It would go back to August the 1st, and they would retro the money back to August the 1st. Okay. So that's always very important. The question that we get is, how long does it take? Okay, because some of the veterans that we deal with, let me tell you, I don't know how they made it this far in life, but it's usually a spouse that basically now her husband's passed away. She's the widow, and his retirement is gone. She gets half of the Social Security, usually his. Suddenly it's a whole different picture, So typically with some of the other programs that we know about, we're able to keep that particular widow in the community that she's in, okay? And fortunate where we are, we do have some placement bureaus that are also able to put them in a community that's able to accommodate their needs at maybe a lesser price. It just depends. It depends. That's our 2 magic words with all the cases. It depends. So what will the pension pay? Well, a veteran with a spouse this year, it's $2,430 or $29,700. I mean, that is tax-free to the veteran, and because he has a spouse. Typically, we will apply for the veteran and apply for the spouse secondarily because it's more money, as you'll see, for the veteran. We always try to maximize that. If it's a veteran and does not have a spouse, then it's $2,050 a month or $24,600. Okay. For a surviving spouse or widower, if you will, the amount is $1,318 a month or $15,816 a year. Now, if the veteran is still living, okay, the spouse would get $1,550 or $18,600 a month. As you can see, these are significant numbers that really, for the veteran or spouse that's in a community that or home care, that will allow them to get more care. And if they're in a community, that additional money allows them to stay there. Right now, we have a lady, she's been in dementia unit at one of the communities for 9 years since her husband passed away.
Oh, wow.
And she has nobody. And what we were able to do was to set up with the county firm to pay the bills every month so that they didn't have to go through guardianship. Okay.
That's
and
sad.
just now starting to fade a little bit 9 years later. And she's 98.
Wow.
Go ahead, Darlene. You had a question or?
No, I just said that. I just find that sad. I just find that sad.
Well, it is. It's sad because we do run into sometimes where, especially the World War II veterans now, we're dealing with the spouses because they were younger than the veterans that served.
Yeah.
Except for the one that was 104. Okay. And so that what happens there is that they've outlived their children in many instances and they don't have anybody. And so that's where, we can step in and help. And it really does your heart good.
Yeah.
It's very sad. And again, it's all tax free. And so that's the other important thing for the veteran or spouse. I'm all in favor of paying taxes, you betcha, but not any more than you have to. Okay.
No, they'll get you everywhere else. So
that's right. So what is the first eligibility that the VA looks at is one, that the veteran had a wartime service. Okay. And I'm going to get into details on that. Secondly, that they need assistance with activities of daily living. And there are some income limitations that I'm going to talk about and some asset limitations. Okay. So first of all, the veteran had to serve during a wartime. So for example, World War II was December 7th, 1941, the day that will live in infamy, to December 31st, 1946. Now, my father went into the service in January of 1946. Okay. And so that last year of the war, he drove a Jeep in California. Was he a wartime veteran? Yes, he was. He wasn't a combat veteran, but he was a wartime veteran. So he would have qualified. Korea is June 27th, 1950, January 31st to 1955. Now, Vietnam's a little bit different. Vietnam was August the 5th, 1964 to May 7th, 1975. Now, prior to that, from February 28th, 61, for veterans who served in country, okay, before 1964, what that means is we had troops in Laos and Cambodia that were making sorties over into Vietnam. So for those veterans, what we need is a copy of their orders that they actually were ordered to go into Vietnam. And so we've had a couple of those, and that hadn't been an issue. And we all had one gentleman said, well, I was there. I says, I need the orders. Well, I can't get the orders. And I says, well, we can't do anything. Have you gone through, NPC? Is well, maybe you're right. So that's what happened there. Anyway, the Gulf War, August 2nd, 1990. And so we're now finished with that, the Gulf War situation. That just finished with bringing the troops home from Afghanistan. Okay, so that's kind of the first thing that we look at. The veteran must need help with ADLs. Okay, now ADLs basically, as you're aware, are activities of daily living. So full benefits, income must be less than the UMEs. Now let me throw something in here. Now, if somebody is less than age 65, typically, if they're 100% service connected, we can get them qualified because the rule says they have to be 65 or older, but that's not necessarily true. So we're seeing a lot of dementia in the 60s and the late 50s, Lewy body, frontal lobal, and cardiovascular dementia. We're seeing them younger and younger. So if they have that, typically at 57, 58 that we're seeing, they could qualify for this benefit as well. So to qualify for full benefits, the income must be less than their UMEs, or reimbursed medical expenses. And those are assisted living costs, nursing home costs, home health care service costs, health insurance premiums, Medicare premiums, and independent living with a third-party caregiver even. Recently, we had one of the independent livings that we asked for the cost of the rent, their meals and everything, so we could use that as a UME. And she says, I can't do that because we're independent living. So I had to send her a copy of the regs. So the regs say basically that we can count the independent living cost as if with a third party is providing additional care. In this case,
wow.
if the son, daughter, both were providing different care by taking the mom to the doctor, so forth and so on. So we're able to get the care, even though that she was in independent living. Okay, so
that is brand new to me. Yeah,
oh,
that's great news.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because what in the past, prior to 2018, October the 18th, the rule was independent living didn't count. Okay, and the rules changed in October the 18th, 2018. And so we did get clarification on that. So I went to the attorney that drafted the legislation and that reg, and to get clarity on it, and a couple of other things that were kind of vague. Okay, and we did get clarity on it. And so that's where he pointed out on this, where that was in the regulation. So so that's been great, because the same thing on home health care service, for example, with a third party, could be a third party that is providing the care at home. There we just, say you got to be careful. You got to be careful with doing that, especially if it's a spouse. We had a situation where I got a call from a lady that is part of a national association of basically spouses that they couldn't see their husbands anymore. And what happened was that husband fell at home, went to hospital rehab sent it to the senior healthcare community, and she went in there and took him out, okay, and brought him home. He fell again, went back to the emergency room and then to rehab sent him back to the senior healthcare community, and they brought in the Department of Children and Family Services, who basically then went to court, and they appointed a guardian over the veteran and would not allow the spouse to see him.
Oh, wow.
There's a whole, I didn't realize that this happens across the United States. So we do deal nationally, and we see a lot. Okay, so
Wow.
on the application, what we have to submit is Social Security income, pension income, rental income. Now the pension income here is retirement, okay? And rental income, business income, interest income, annuity income, trust income, and reverse mortgage income. So these things that we have to put on the application, and it's all on a monthly basis, not annual, okay? That's where a lot of people mess up. They put in annual numbers and it kicks it out, okay? The allowable assets, the maximum amount that you are allowed is determined by the VA and can change each year. And so I get that question quite a bit. How much can I have? And that's where we come back with our two magic words. It depends on where it is. Part of it can be grandfathered. In 2018, they instituted a 3-year look back, similar to Medicaid, okay? And so some of it could be subject to the 3-year look back, and some of it could be grandfathered. So, so for the VA, there is a 3-year look back. So as for Medicaid, it's a 60-month look back in all states except California. I don't think you have anybody on California online, which is a 30-month look back. Okay. We're pretty familiar with it. Okay.
Okay.
So what are they going to put on the application? What do we have to disclose? Cash, checking, savings, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, CDs, IRAs, 401ks that can be cashed in, annuities that are tax deferred, property, the next value, and business ownership. Okay. Now, there's other things that we do not put on the application that are allowable assets, such as the home. So the primary residence, if it's on less than 2 acres at the application, doesn't count. But if they're going to sell it later, then it should be put into a residential trust. So when the money comes back, let's say 300,000 or 400,000, whatever it is, it doesn't disqualify the veteran or spouse retroactively. So that's why we recommend a residential trust. Okay. The other thing that doesn't count is a car. We don't recommend going out and buying a Lamborghini, to qualify. That's not a good idea. Can't get your money out of it. Personal property, such as furniture, jewelry, things like that don't count. Life insurance, final expense insurance does not count as well.
Wow, that's good.
Are allowable assets.
Okay.
Good. So those are the things that, again, and some of it that, again, depends where it is and what they did. Whether it can be grandfathered. So that's the things that have to be looked at. Okay. So if the veteran has too many assets and not enough income, are they going to qualify? So this particular example, let's say that they have $123,600. Okay. Doesn't mean you won't qualify. Every case is different depending on where you have your assets, as I said before. So let's basically look at this and see, I clicked too quickly here. Okay, let me back up. Okay, previous. Okay, here we go. And so in this particular case, okay, if they're spending, let's say that they're having to spend $37,200 per year out of their savings. Okay, and that means they're going in the hole about $2,200 a month. Okay, for their cost of care, or about $37,200. So in year one, starting with the $123,600. We minus the $37,200, it's going to go down to $86,400. Year three, $49,200. Year four, $12,000. Year five, they're now underwater. Their savings is gone. It doesn't matter what their income is at that point. That's where they're going to yell help for the children. Sure. Okay. So as you can see, by the year 8, they would be underwater at $136,800 if they didn't do anything and they didn't get any benefits at all. Okay.
Right.
Let's compare that. And this is an old number of the $2,230 per month. So that was last year's number. Like I said, this year it's $2,430 because it went up. So that's the thing here to understand that the VA money goes up at the same rate, percentage rate, if you will, that Social Security goes up. So last year it went up 5.8%. So here it would have gone up 5.8%. But taking the same $123,600, year two, $102,720, year three, $92,280. Year four, $81,840, so forth and so on. By the end of 10 years, they still have $19,200. Why is it important? Cost of care is going to go up, isn't it? So that's basically, they need to have as much money as they have in reserve. So let's look at this side by side. Their option one, as I call it, is they don't do anything. Okay, they don't apply for the money. And the option two over here is with the VA planning. Okay, so over here at the 5th year, they're out of money. Okay.
The side-by-side comparison slide is perfect.
Okay. So over here, it's 71,400. Okay. There's a sad face in note over here in the 5th year. Very sad. There's the happy face. Okay. So this is basically, you hit it on the nail on the head, Darlene. When we're talking to someone and we show them the side by side, they go, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And this doesn't take into consideration, the increases in cost of care. So this is why you can see with the VA benefit that they're going to be able to stay in the community a lot longer and get the care that they need.
Right.
Okay? So that's how that works. So why plan now is we tell them the senior's in control. Dementia, as I said, is problematic later. 50% of all seniors over the age of 85 will experience some form of dementia,
Right.
And so that's why it's important while they're still in control. I had a gentleman that just called about 3 months ago, talked to him 2 years ago. He was in Connecticut, okay? And he didn't want to do anything 2 years ago. And he decided now he needed to do something. His wife had dementia. He's 97, and he finally realized he wasn't going to live forever. Okay, and so now we're helping him. So they moved. He's still in Connecticut, and but they moved mom down to Florida to be close to the daughter. Okay, ensure the quality of life. That's what they do if they basically get that VA benefit. There's no surprises. The older I get, the least I like surprises. You know, it's not like Christmas comes like every 2 weeks, it seems like. Okay, no unintended consequences. And this is what we see a lot, is that suddenly the senior decides to give away $10,000 to every one of the grandkids, and they're giving away all their money.
Yeah.
And they really can't comprehend they're going to need that money.
Yeah.
So that's why when the senior's in control, it's important to get the planning done. Peace of mind, as we tell them, you want to have the peace of mind. So right now, as I said earlier, the VA has a 36-month look back on transfer of assets, similar to 16-month look back for Medicaid nursing home. Okay, and the VA waiver program in the state of Florida, and then in the other states that have the waiver program, basically theirs is it's typically a 12-month. It's a little bit different process. Okay, I won't go with that here. So I'm going to just touch on the other thing that we see a lot of is a senior fraud and scams. 6 million seniors fall victim of fraud every year. Cognitive conditions such as dementia, Alzheimer's disease, and increase in vulnerability. There's criminal fraud, exploitation from con artists. Now, these numbers are basically, I would say, are estimates, because a lot of it basically does not get disclosed because the people are too embarrassed to admit that they got ripped off. So
yeah, it definitely goes unreported.
It does. It just goes unreported. The caregiver fraud, caregivers coming in and giving access to the credit cards. We had one that they charged $150,000 on this gentleman's credit card, turned them into the local sheriff. Nothing they could do because he gave them permission to use the credit cards. Okay. And of course, the number one is unscrupulous family members rip off their parents. It just it is. Okay. The IRS
and it's just going to get worse. I feel like it's just going to get worse because I feel like our seniors are just getting taken more and more advantage of.
It really is.
By younger and younger people.
Yeah, because the younger people, they feel, well, mom and dad are going to leave that money to me anyway, and I need it now. They don't need it. And that's their attitude, I think, it seems like. And it's sad. It really is. Because if you go to any of the banks or credit unions and you ask them who's ripping up your customers, and the number one is family member. That's the number one. Okay. The IRS scam, okay, yeah, they don't call you and tell you you owe them money. McDonald's, I'm not going to get that right now. Fake lottery. The senior grandparent scam is the thing that's going on again. This goes in cycles, and how they're able to do this is basically you get on whitetapers.com and you can find out, who's basically related to you. There's a premium part, and it can tell you all your finances and so forth and so on. Wow. And so this one is, it pops up a lot, that senior parent scam. So there are ways to avoid that. We do typically another program on fraud protection and prevention. And because it doesn't do any good to tell you about this if we can't tell you how to prevent it. But that's for another time, Darlene.
We'll do another one. We'll do another one, Joe. We'll have you back.
Okay. So the computer update scam, the sweetheart scam, online dating sites. Boy, that's we had one that basically quick story on that, Richard. I got one day that a lady called me. She says, I got the PO right, Richard. I'm Richard's friend. I says, I'm sorry, I can't accept your POA. Next day, I got another lady call me. Well, I have a POA on Richard. I'm his friend, and I want to help him. I says, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you on it. Okay, the VA does not allow that. Third day, his ex-wife calls me. I still love Richard. Okay, I want to help Richard. So I called the attorney that drafted the special needs trust and was telling the paralegal. She says, well, Richard has a fiance. I says, he has a fiance. I didn't know he had a fiance. When do they plan on getting married? And here's what she told me. She says, they plan on getting married when she gets out of prison for prostitution. So you got people in prison with cell phones that are calling. Wow, what a rip. Medicare increase stands. So we say if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Okay, so 70% of all claims are denied. Remember that. So what your residents, future residents need to do is connect with a service organization like NAVF to help them get their ducks in a row while they still can. We have over 99% claim approval because this is what we specialize in. And all our people have the passion, like Darlene, because they've gone through what she's gone through, what I've gone through with relatives. And so we do have that passion. Mm-hmm. So the VA application process is complex. The VA website is confusing. So what do? Our first mission is to educate veterans and families like we're doing here. And so, yeah, I've already had one seminar this morning at another community. And this is what we do, is to educate, because you don't know what you don't know, right, as we like to say. The benefit focuses on all eligible veterans and spouses. And we shepherd in the planning process, even if somebody's been told that they have too many assets or too many income. And that's what we've been told a lot. So we file fully developed claims on behalf of veteran and spouse. What does that mean? That means we do not send in a claim until the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. We complete the applications, and that's what we wish everybody would do that's supposedly helping the veterans, because you cannot do this on your own. The veterans and the children cannot, because they're busy. There's a lot of sandwich children. They got the parents and they got, their own kids to deal with. So we handled, 2 years ago, 3,800 claims and about 70 million in benefits.
Wow.
Okay. So over the course of 15 years, we've probably done about 68,000 claims, and we only had 38 denials to date. And that's where they forgot to tell us about something,
Yeah.
So that's not a bad ratio, Okay. So if you need more information, to contact us. If you want brochures, we're glad to send you brochures. We send them all over the United States.
That's one of our questions that I have in there about the brochures.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That was one of our questions that we had in our notes here.
Okay.
When we have tons of questions for you, Joe.
Okay. So
that was one of them. Do you have pamphlets?
So the brochure is what is on the brochure is basically, again, it's a brief synopsis of how much is paid, what the qualifications are. And it's informative, but it's not overwhelming. It can't be. So we have those. We send them. Like I said, they go all over the United States. I got one group in Washington State. They ask for about every other month, and we send them. We send them 50 at a time. The other thing is, if you have referrals, we're glad to help them no matter where they are. We've been doing this, virtually. Before the COVID, so we're able to do that. Webinars, we're also glad to do webinars, or we do in person. So in person, basically, we do the webinars for the veteran seminar and the fraud prevention. And usually, what happens in the community, we'll do one, say, on the veterans, and then they'll ask us to come back on doing the fraud prevention for all of their residents. Okay. And we touch a little bit on the veteran stuff there because it is important. It's important for, for all our seniors that they're protected. Okay, now we have some questions. All right.
Lots of questions. So I'm going to kind of go through these. And so one of the questions was how to access the podcast. It says on A&E, and I'm not sure what that is, but the podcast is SeniorLivingGuide.com podcast. It can be found anywhere you listen to music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. All the podcast applications is also on our website under podcasts. And then the podcast that we did with Joe is on there as well. So you can check that out. We have 39 podcasts, so there's lots of stuff going on there. The next one is, does the veteran have to be active in a war to be eligible? I think you answered that one.
Okay. Let me touch on that. Basically, what they have to be is 1 day during a wartime with 90 consecutive days of active duty. Okay, so they did not have to be in combat. then they could be like my father was in California when the war was going on. He never saw combat, but he was a wartime veteran. So the only difference is on merchant marine. Merchant marines had to be 6 months on an ocean-going vessel.
Okay.
Okay.
I did see a question in here, and I'll probably get to it, but I'll throw it in there since we're talking about it. Coast Guard, is Coast Guard considered?
Yes, Coast Guard
Okay.
is considered. What is not considered? National Guard, unless they went to active duty.
Okay,
90
that makes
days active
sense.
duty.
Okay. And then I have Blue Bonnet Service who asked again, or had another question. They've got a couple questions, good ones in here. Will A&A pay for personal care assistance, caregiver help client in their home?
Yes.
Yes.
Basically, it cannot be a spouse that's providing the care, but it can be a child or, again, a third party.
A third party.
The VA does have, through the VA system, the health side, the social worker can come in and determine additional level of care.
Okay.
And provide 18 hours a week of care from the VA.
Okay, I'm going to throw this one at you because I'm going through these, but this one just popped up. So I'm just going to address this really fast. So Lizette said she tried the website vetsmatter.org and it said there's an error code. Do you know?
You got me. I don't know. I'll have to ask my IT guy what's cooking there.
It came up for me just fine. I just did it.
Yeah, it may be just through her internet provider. Okay. I've seen it sometimes if you're using with some websites, if you're using DuckDuckGo or if you use Bing, okay, they don't come up. So come back and access it through Google and vice versa. It just depends on the internet browser.
Yeah, it came up for me. Okay, so moving on. I just want to address that really quick.
Okay. Try again.
Yeah. Okay. So the other one was, what's the process of acquiring a contract with the VA as a home care provider in the Maryland area, and how long does it take to be approved?
Typically, what that does, that's going through the health side, okay, of the VA, and so typically there, you'll have a regional social worker that to contact. That's where I would start. Okay, and that basically they would be in charge of the two programs, the home care program that she's asking about, and also the VA directed care program in Maryland. Okay.
Okay.
I don't have that on the top of my head.
Okay. Is this benefit be applied to military divorced spouses who have been married during the time of service and married over 10 years?
If they were married and divorced prior to 1960, okay. If they were divorced after 1960, I'm sorry, when they get divorced, it stops. Even though the person may have PX privileges and things like that, that was in the divorce decree, but this particular benefit does not extend. It stops for the divorce.
Right.
Okay.
So are the amounts associated in the area in which they live, or is that just across the board?
That is national.
Yeah.
Across the board. Okay.
If the veteran was only with the National Guard during wartime, would he still qualify for the aid and attendance benefit for his disabled wife?
The answer is if he did not go active duty, would not qualify. Have to be active duty 90 days.
Okay.
Okay. So that would be on his DD 214 or her DD 214. Okay. And that's that 90 days. And so that's where, we get that question from National Guard. Well, I was activated, and it's amazing. A lot of times they were active duty 89 days. Imagine that, 1 day short. And we just don't know if that's intentional or what, but we've seen that. That's sad. That is sad.
Yeah.
So it's 90 days, 90 days.
Yeah. Wow. At what age can they start receiving benefits?
Like I said, it says age 65, but as I said earlier, they can be younger if they're 100% disabled from Social Security. So they got to have their Social Security disability.
Okay.
Not the VA, the military disability, but the Social Security disability.
Social Security. Ooh, that's, yeah, there you go.
Okay.
If the vet is receiving the homebound benefit through authorization by VA for home care and the spouse needs assistance, Parkinson's or bedridden, can they receive? That kind of
Yeah.
answers that question, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
At that point, it depends on what they're getting. If that's from on the health side, from the social worker side, I'll call it that, then that doesn't count. The spouse can get benefits as well. Usually what we try to do, though, is we're going to try to apply for the veteran, first of all, because it's a higher dollar amount. And depending on what that veteran has, we're always going to try to get the most money for them. We really are. Okay. And so if the doctor says that that veteran needs to be in a protective environment, that's all we need.
Okay.
Okay.
We were told that if you have a client who is a veteran receiving personal care assistance paid for by Medicaid, that they can receive this service in addition to the services paid by Medicaid. That is not considered quote unquote double dipping. Is that true? Okay.
Again, there's two types of Medicaid. If this is the Medicaid for nursing home, the VA benefit they would get would reduce to $90 a month. Okay. If it's the Medicaid waiver program, that what I was referring to, it does not decrease. They get the full amount. So what we always recommend is that we're going to apply for the VA benefit first and then apply for the Medicaid waiver program. Why? Because on the application, it will ask, have you applied? Are you receiving Medicaid? Okay, what that refers to for the VA is the Medicaid for nursing home. Okay, they get confused when we start pointing the waiver in there. So we always want to answer, truthfully. So we tell everybody, do not apply for the waiver program until we've already applied for the VA pension program.
Gotcha.
Step by step. And so we make sure that we do that. We have the paper trail that we need. Because like I said, the VA gets confused when we say Medicaid. They don't know one from the other. They really don't.
Right.
And so that's why we do it that way. So it works. You just have to take it step by step.
And are there adult day, like the adult daycare benefits? Is that something?
Yes.
Okay.
Basically, again, those can be used to determine the unreimbursed medical expenses. There's some other requirements on that, and it just depends on what they're paying for the care and the daycare. Sometimes what we have to do is to pay one of the children as a caregiver in order to get it to the limit to get them to qualify for the benefit. And that's a case by case basis. Coming back to, it depends.
Okay, so we have so many questions in here. So I had another one about getting benefits for home health in their area. Rhonda, I know you asked about that. If we didn't answer that, just email us after. And then I had someone else that has a very long question about the eligibility requirements. We're going to resend this, and then you can see those eligibility requirements again. Do you have a provider business? What is the process of getting them enrolled in it? So I will send this. Let's see here. This is a really long one with a lot of questions. I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and I will send it over to Joe. And we'll get this. I'll have him answer this because I think there's a lot of meat and potatoes in here that I think we've already answered. So just in case, I'll have him follow up with you. Do you have to be in assisted living and incurring the cost before you apply for the benefit?
The answer is no. On one hand, it's that you have to be paying. And sometimes what we do, we will go ahead and apply if the children are providing some type of service, like taking them to the doctor, things like this, then we'll go ahead and get the process started, okay, before they get into the community. And but typically, if they don't do that, then we have to wait till they go into the community because we have to have the invoices,
right?
Okay, that they are paying. And that's the thing that some of the seniors don't understand, is that they'll put them in a community and later they take them out.
Right.
Okay. That's the VA benefit should stop. They don't notify the VA. So the money keeps coming. And then finally they notify the VA, oh, we changed addresses. Okay. And the VA is going to come back and take that money because they were not paying out to the community. So they have to be paying someone for care. This is a reimbursement program.
Right.
It's not just a gift. So they have to be receiving care and paying somebody.
Right. And that's, I think, unlike Social Security, where you get the money directly and spend it however you choose, that's not what this is.
This basically, they're getting the money directly, but it's to be used for their health care. Now, they may be over with the money from the VA. For example, if their unreimbursed medical expenses are $4,000, they can have up to $3,800 of income and still qualify.
Right.
Now, with the VA benefit on top of that, another $2,000, they're in the black. Almost $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's fine. That's fine. So that's where they better start socking away, because cost of care is going to go up.
Right, but you have to quantify what you need why you need the money, I guess is what I'm saying, versus just a gift where you just automatically, yeah. That's so I do want to go back, and we're just getting so many of these, and some of them are repeats, and some of them are asking for recordings, and some of them I don't want to ask you the same question over and over again. Okay. So I do want to just mention for everyone that's still on here, hasn't had their question answered answered. We are recording this and we will send the link over. If you've registered, I have your email, and I'm going to go ahead and I'll send it over. And then also I'll have Joe's contact information. So if you didn't get your question answered, I'm sure he'll be happy to answer that for you. His email will be in there as well. So all those questions can still be answered. And then also you can review it. And I know some people had asked some things that were already within the PowerPoint. So you'll have that to view as well. One of the questions is there a fee for your services?
We're a 501c3 nonprofit. There is not a fee for our services. We're supported by companies like Walmart, CSX here in Florida, ViStar Credit Union, the Keenan Trust out of Charlotte, and from the Florida Department of Veterans gives us money. We do accept individual donations. We're happy to do that because our claims officers are all full-time and they do get paid. If somebody wants to make a donation, they can. We're not going to turn it down, but we do not require it. Do not require it. And because it is, as we tell them, we have a lot of veterans that we deal with, they've got nothing. It amazes me. So this helps us to take care of all the applications and everything else for them. But no, we do not charge a fee, and we make that very clear, upfront. But what we have is most people that after they get the benefit, they'll send us the money, because they realize then how difficult this was. It's not required. Not required. There's a lot of people out there that are doing it that are charging fees.
Right. Absolutely. I love the fact that, because I will say, as I started getting to the bottom of this, that was like question after question, the exact same question. So I'm glad that I got to that point where I started seeing that was the majority of the questions. One of the questions I did want to ask before we start getting off here, because it is almost 3 o'clock. Can you tell me the criteria for room and board coverage if a veteran is in hospice?
Ooh, hospice is usually being paid by, Medicare. I think it's under Part B, but no, we don't.
Yeah, I was going to say, when my dad had hospice, there was no charge for that.
Yeah. And so whether it's you have the different hospice organizations, and so no, I haven't. Usually it's paid for by somebody else. They do take donations. I know that as well. And usually they're pretty good. It depends on your area, because a lot of the hospice, how do I say, they sponsor different things. Last week I was just at a community where they had the Veterans Wall, and that's being pretty common now, where they'll put pictures of the veteran, there may be a flag behind it that's painted, and VITA's paid for that. Okay, hospice in this area down here. And so we're seeing a lot of that to recognize, you know, the veterans in the communities that we are. I think that's very, you know, very important. But
so some of the folks answered it. Hospice is paid by Medicare Part A, and then long-term care also pays.
Very possibly. So the Medicaid, the long-term care will pay, and also again, a lot of times it just depends on what they have, the policy, whether it is going to pay for assisted living or home care. It varies. It varies. You'll know. It's not consistent. It depends on the policy,
right,
that they have.
So I think
I get that.
This is a question I think you've already answered, but I'm going to, it's been asked in a different way. And then I think that's going to be our last question. And if anybody has any questions, they can email you directly.
Yes,
what if a resident has applied, but during their stay at their assisted living, they have had to go to a higher level of care, which is absolutely normal. Would they receive their back pay?
Yes. Yeah, from the time usually what we try to do is when we start the process, if it looks like they're going to, you know, qualify, but we haven't got the doctor's records, we haven't got other records, we'll go ahead and file what's called an intent to file. So what the intent to file does, it locks in the date. So if it takes longer to get the records, then we're okay. So we've already locked in the date.
Right.
An extreme example was a marriage certificate. We had to have marriage certificates if we're applying for a couple. And this particular couple got married at the Vatican. And I guess they had an in with the Pope. I don't know. But anyway, it took about a year to get the marriage certificate. But we'd already locked in the date, you know. And so that's what we try to do, is we're going to make sure that we are going to maximize what they get as soon as they can get it. And there's 5 steps to the process. And so they got to get through step 3. If they don't make it to step 3 and they pass away, there's not going to be any benefit.
Yeah.
You know? So that's why we have to try to get it done as quickly as possible.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And as I know, I've talked to you about my dad, I did all of his paperwork and he passed away about a month or so after I did that. He never received any of his benefits.
And he didn't get it. Yeah. And that's what really saddens us. Prior to COVID, I don't know, they started, it was taking 8 to 10 months to get anybody approved. And we had a lot of them that died in 5 or 6 months.
Yeah.
And just really sad. Yeah. So that's why we get on it, and we want to make sure it's done on a timely basis. So we don't hold it up. Usually it's on the children that hold stuff up.
Blaming the kids, always blaming the kids.
You betcha. It's like that lady said, they're terrible teenagers.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I am absolutely going to tell you, we've had some amazing questions and we didn't even get to them all. I think this is the first time ever we have not been able to get all of these questions, and I'm getting a great response. People really enjoy the presentation today, Joe. So I really appreciate you jumping on, and thank you everyone for joining us today. This was a great webinar, a great turnout. I have to tell you, we had hundreds of people on here. So that's just been fabulous for all of us. So really do appreciate it. We will be sending out the link in the video. So please stay tuned for that. And please feel free to get in touch with myself or with Joe at any time. My contact information as well as his will come in an email in the next day or so. Thank you so much. Everyone have an amazing day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.